Hey there, welcome to my channel. If you're new, my name's Andrea and I love the Pilates Method of Exercise. My channel is all about digging deeply into the classical Pilates method and becoming the best you can be, whether you're a teacher or a practitioner. So thanks for coming by, and if you've been here before, thanks for coming back. Today I'm going to talk, I have a little bit of a chatty rant today, and we're going to talk about spring selection and efficient ways you can adjust the springs for greater symmetry in your own body and also on the reformer for the life of your apparatus. And so let's talk about some springs. So there's a couple different points of view on setting up the springs, and this is just mine based on my experience and also my training under Ramana and also under Jay Grimes. So I am on the classical Pilates reformer that's created by Balanced Body, the Contrology reformer. And this, what I'm talking about, the spring selection, this will apply on any classical reformer which was designed and evolved, whose design evolved with the classical exercises that are done on the reformer. So I have 4 springs that are all equal in tension. And so I'm going to be speaking about just 4 springs and the various combinations they are used in when you do the exercises on the reformer. And so if you're used to having colored springs that vary in tension, that's a little bit of a different discussion, and it's not one that I am very well versed in. So this may not be super helpful if you're used to colored springs or more than 4 of them. Okay, so I have 4 springs. And usually when you have 2 springs on, because there's a lot of exercises that have 2 springs, generally you want to choose them in a symmetrical fashion. You want to have either the 2 in the middle or the 2 on the outside. And generally in your big reformer workout, it doesn't matter if you have 2 springs together in the middle or 2 springs on either side. It still is sort of the same thing. You're connected into this kind of system of the reformer. You're not directly attached to the spring the same way you are on, like, the Cadillac, for example. And the part, so you're looking for symmetry in your spring selection, either outside or inside, and that mostly applies to when you have 1 spring exercises. So you're looking to change your springs in the most efficient way possible. And so I'm just going to talk through a couple choices where, a couple places in the workout, there's really only 2, where you may choose to work the springs differently so that when you arrive at an exercise that has 1 spring, it can be in the middle, which is going to be a little bit more balanced side to side, even though you have 4 springs. 1 in the middle is still more balanced than 1 on the very end. So 1 on one side is not as symmetrical to the body as 1 in the middle. So let's pretend we're starting the reformer workout. So our footwork, we have all springs on, 4, or maybe depending on who you are, you might have 3. So let's say, because this is how I do my workout, let's say that you just have 3 springs for your footwork. So I'm going to take 1 spring off in the middle, because otherwise if you had 3 springs, they'd be all on one side, and that's not very symmetrical. So I basically have 2 springs, 1 spring off, and then the spring on the other side. So I do my footwork, I do my 100 on the same 3 springs, but now I'm going to switch to 2 springs to do the overhead. So now I have a little bit of a dilemma. I could just take off that 1 spring in the middle and be left with 2 on each side. However, what's happening after my overhead eventually is going to take me to the rowing series, which is on 1 spring. So how can I efficiently get to 1 spring in the rowing series from my 2 springs in the overhead? So what my solution is, you're going to do a little bit more work. So you've done your 100, you've just come up from your 100 to change your spring, right? So in this position, you can take some time because you're doing an exercise. So I'm going to actually put the spring on, so I now have 4, and now I'm going to take the outside springs off, so I'm left with 2 in the middle. So then I'm going to do my overhead, my coordination, and then after coordination, you know, there's that big turn around to set up for the rowing. Let's pretend that was down. And now, it's really kind of awkward if I had to do a lot back here, right? If I had to put one on and move some around. Like, this is not really the best way to like lean back and twist and meh. So now you made it easy for yourself because all you have to do is reach back. You don't even have to look, and one spring is off and you're down to one spring in the middle. And that's going to set you up for your long box pulling straps, same spring in the middle. And that's sort of one place where you can make your life a little bit easier and always maintain your one spring exercises with one spring in the middle instead of one on either side. Okay, so the second place where this happens, when you have this little moment, is after the stomach massage series. So after the stomach massage series, a few exercises after the stomach massage series, you're going to do the semicircle. And the semicircle is an exercise that requires you to have 2 springs on either side. Because otherwise, when your hips go to the spring, you'll hit springs and you won't be able to complete the exercise really. So during your stomach massage series, which you probably start with, again, either 4 or 3, you're going to do your first stomach massage. So let's pretend first stomach massage, either 4 springs or 3 springs. And then you're going to take 1 spring off in the middle. So then you have your 3 situation. 2 springs, 1 spring off, and then another spring. You do your second position. Then you take 1 more spring off in the middle so that now you have 2 springs. They're on either side. And so by the time you finish your stomach massage, your 2 springs are on either side. And then you go to your tendon stretch, which is still the same 2 springs. Then you go to your short box, which is still the same 2 springs, short spinal massage, and then semicircle, and you're all set. And those 2 instances are really the main places where you kind of want to be specific in how you're setting up your spring. In the rest of the reformer workout, whether you have 2 springs in the middle or 2 springs on the outside is not so important. But when you are going to 1 spring in the middle, it's nice if you've got those 2 springs in the middle and then just 1 comes off really easily. So that's just a little tip I wanted to share. It helps your reformer stay nice and balanced, and it also keeps your symmetry in your own body. There's a couple other little sort of things as well. I've also heard that it's nice to change your springs so that you would rotate the ones on the outside and put those as the inside springs, so that if you're always using 1 spring in the middle, you know, that spring might get used more and more and more. So swapping them so that over time, so you can put the inside springs on the outside and put the outside springs on the inside, so that you can kind of not wear out 1 spring more than the other 3. And the other thing I'll mention is that this is sort of like Pilates hearsay, let's say. So I really remember learning, and I'm sure I did, but sometimes, you know, when you learn from people and you bring up, topics that you've learned from them, sometimes they don't remember that they've taught you that. So I find sometimes that if you have 1 spring on in the middle, so the middle of 4 there's not really a middle, right? If you have 1 spring in the middle or the other spring in the middle, it's not truly the middle. It's still on one side a little bit. So I am someone who has one side that doesn't like to work as much as the other, and it likes the support of the spring. And so sometimes for the rowing series, when I'm facing this way, I like to have the left center spring on as my 1 spring, because I find that it gives that side that it's aligned with a little bit extra support. And I feel that for myself, and so therefore I think it's valid. But it's still not like you're attached like a leg spring. I'm not really attached to that spring directly. So sometimes it could be that someone does not find that to be helpful, to have 1 spring on one side in the middle or the other. So I just wanted to let you know that as well, because I find it helpful in the rowing series to kind of know where that one spring in the middle is. So I know that was a lot of like chatter. So if you have any questions or would like me to clarify anything, please leave me a comment below. I'm happy to discuss further. And this is a little bit of like, you know, things implies that may go, I wonder if that's a thing. So thanks so much for watching. I am reaching a little bit of a milestone on YouTube. I'm just a few subscribers away from 5,000. So if you are not a subscriber and you'd like to see more Pilates videos like this, please do click the red subscribe icon. The bell icon will let you be notified every time that I publish new content. Ideally, that is twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. Thanks so much for watching. I love the time that we spend together. And keep doing your Pilates. Stay safe out there, and I will see you next time. Bye!